Welcome to the Etheria TechCast, where we bring you all things science, engineering, technology, and innovation. I'm your host, Ezekiel Etheria, and today we are joined by Melih Oztalay, a digital marketing pioneer and CEO of SmartFinds Marketing. With over 35 years of experience guiding businesses through digital transformation, he has advised Fortune 500 companies and emerging startups alike, developing proven frameworks like the 4 A's of digital success to help organizations systematically anticipate and adapt to market shifts, moving beyond buzzwords to drive measurable growth. In this episode, we'll explore his strategic approach to integrating AI and aligning marketing with sales to future-proof business growth. So, Melih, it's great to have you on the show today. Welcome to,
Ezekiel,
yeah.
great to be on your show. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
Well, thank you very much for showing up. So let's dive in, Melih. You've been at the forefront of digital marketing since 1994, watching it evolve from the early internet to the AI-driven landscape of today. So what is the single most important lesson about adaptability that you've learned from witnessing all these shifts?
I think that you hit the nail on the head on that one. The reality is that if there's something that sticks out over all this time, the company goes back to 1987, but we started the Internet Group in 94. And the one thing that's always constant is the fact that there's change. It's change because of technology, right? It's change because technology impacts society. It's change because there is the opportunity to generate income from this technology, from the vast array of the internet. And so if you take all of that into account, what you find is there's only one thing that's constant, and that's change. And so that's what we've been working on and working with and working through for now roughly 30 years.
All right, Melih. So you have a powerful framework called the 4 A's of digital success. So can you walk us through this framework? And also for the engineers and systematic thinkers in our audience, just give us a practical system for navigating change with your framework.
Yeah. The idea of the framework originates after August 2013 when Google implemented the Hummingbird algorithm. And the Hummingbird algorithm changed a lot of what we do on the internet. As a matter of fact, I even wrote an article back in those days in which we said that SEO is dead.
Mm.
And what I meant by that is SEO is dead as a task. It's no longer a one-time task that you just execute on your website. Rather, SEO has become a marketing process that doesn't end. And that also impacted everything related to what we do in marketing from that day forward. It is with that I started to put together some type of a perspective for customers, for clients on how do they navigate the fact that every 3, 6, 9 months, there's something that impacts their budget, it impacts their marketing strategy, it impacts the results. And so the idea behind the 4 A's is to give perspective, to help customers navigate through these technological changes. And it's not just for companies spending money on marketing, it's for anything related to technology, right? Technology has always been built on spiral development. If I go back way back when, if you find a starting point and you build on it, and based on your experiences, you add to it, right? And then now you got version 2, and then you add to a little bit more. Now you got version 2.5 or 3, right? And that's how that's pretty much the manner in which all this has transpired over these years. And so let's start with the 4 A's. So the first A is about anticipating change. Now, That sounds simple, right? Yeah. It's like, oh, I know change is going to happen. But the purpose of anticipating change is not to just say, I'm anticipating it. It's the fact that you need to put a budget to reinvest in your company when the change happens.
Mm,
That is a hard one for a lot of companies to do. This idea that 6 months down the road, something's going to change and I'm going to have to change my budget. I need to add to it. That just isn't something that most companies are in a position to accept. It's not about the fact that they will or won't do it, but they're not willing to accept it, which takes us to the second A. And the second A is about accepting change. And I will tell you that that's a hard one because it's an emotional response by most companies. It is not a logical one. Okay. So what I mean by that is it's logical to accept the change and accept it as quickly as possible. Why? Because you need to stay competitive in the marketplace.
mm.
The moment you get emotional and you fret, fuss, and fume, and you throw your arms up in the air and say, I don't want to do this anymore, that is the moment in which you will fall behind your competition. Your competition is going to turn around and accept it faster than you, and you're going to fall behind, and therefore it's going to cost you more to catch up with your competition. So my suggestion is not only anticipate change by having an additional budget for reinvesting, but also to accept the changes as quickly as possible and be logical about it. Those are the two hardest part about the 4 A's. Now, the third A is not too difficult if you can get past the first two, which is to adapt to the changes, right? And what I mean by adapt is you have to take a look at your processes, you have to take a look at your marketing strategy, you have to take a look at the technology you're using, et cetera, and figure out what is it that you need to change amongst that process, including budget, and make some decisions. Now, adapting to change, depending upon what it is that you have to do, can take anywhere from a week to 4 weeks, okay? Because it depends on the complexity. The less complex, the faster you can adapt. The more complex, the longer it's going to take to adapt, but you want to do it as quickly as possible. The fourth A, which is the easiest one, which is to adopt the changes, right? And so adopt or act on the changes is really about, okay, let's implement all these things. Let's just move forward. And the reality is this, you get through all that. And guess what? 6 months later, you're going to have to do it again. And so, yeah, it's the world that we live in. And it is unforgiving. And what I mean by that is if you can't get emotional about these things. You have to be logical. You have to move forward. You have to move through it. Don't try to move around it thinking I'm going to do shortcuts, then I'm going to spend less money. Believe me, that doesn't work either. So in a synopsis, that's what the 4 A's are all about. And that ties into my introduction in terms of when you asked me, what was it that, I've seen over the last 30 years? And my answer to you was that it's constantly changing. And that's the one thing that you can expect. So it really, the idea is let's move into how to navigate these changes. And really, that's what it all comes down to.
All right, that was a really insightful response there. So you've worked with Fortune 500 companies and startups alike. I'd like to know what is the most common structural flaw in how companies organize their marketing and sales team that creates a revenue blocking disconnect.
We have worked with small businesses, we have worked with large corporations, we've worked with Fortune 1000 companies. And what I can tell you is that the difference, if I look at small businesses and large corporations, is the level of sophistication as it relates to being able to keep a structure, to stick to a plan, and more importantly, to have discipline. So what we generally find with small businesses, that discipline and structure is out the door. It doesn't really exist. But when I work with large corporations, there is a certain level of sophistication, a certain strategy, a certain structure, and definitely discipline to follow through on whatever it is that the commitment was. Is a commitment a 12-month program? Is it a 6-month program? Is it a 2-year program? It doesn't make a difference. The idea is that a decision was made and they have the discipline to follow through on that. And more importantly, yes, change along the way, but you're changing within the structure. You're not trying to eliminate the structure and move away from it. So there's a difference in terms of how large corporations have that structure and have that discipline. And I think that's very important in terms of showing success and sticking to it. And whereas, unfortunately with small businesses, if 4 months later they're not seeing the results that they're looking for, they throw their arms up in the air and they stop everything and they go in a different direction. And it doesn't work very well, unfortunately, under those circumstances. I think the more important thing is to have that discipline. I think I answered your question. At least I hope to. Otherwise, I'm going to keep talking.
Yeah, you sure did. You sure did. Brilliantly, I'd say. So let's talk about AI. So beyond just content creation, how should a business be systematically integrating AI into its core marketing and customer engagement strategies right now to build a real competitive advantage?
I think when it comes to AI, it's not just about marketing. AI has to be integrated into the operations of the company as well.
Mm,
And unfortunately, there's a lot of fear-mongering out there about AI taking everything over and AI taking away jobs and so on and so forth. I'm not in favor of the fear-mongering. I think that doesn't benefit anybody. As a matter of fact, at the end of the day, the AI cat is out of the bag. You're not going to stuff it back in. You're not going to get rid of it. As you can see here, especially during 2025, the amount of investment going into the AI infrastructure, into building buildings that will house the AI, large language models, the servers, the computers, everything related to it is nothing but moving forward. So the idea of having fear around AI is the wrong direction. That again is an emotional response. It's not a logical one. The idea is, how do you embrace it and how do you move forward to it? For example, I find a lot of people are trying to figure out, especially in the fear mongering, how do I control AI? And I'm suggesting you can't control it. You need, as a matter of fact, if you control it, you lose the value that it brings. So the idea is not to control AI. The idea is to manage it, work with it, and find how it can benefit your business operations, your marketing, for that matter, your sales. And when I say operations, I also mean, and I include the administration and the executive level, right? How do they get reports using AI by just pressing a button, and that it is flexible enough that it's going to adapt based on what's going on and make recommendations, right? In the past, we used to just have reports that we looked at. Well, now you have a report and a recommendation, something you can act on, and you can get it as quickly as possible so you can move your company forward. In terms of AI with humans, it's not about that it's taking away jobs. It's the fact that humans are going to do something different. Humans are going to go in a different direction. They're going to have different responsibilities. As a matter of fact, the responsibilities that humans will have is more likely going to make us more effective in terms of how do we move forward in terms of mankind with the new technology, with artificial intelligence, right? That's the direction that we need to take a look at. And that's the direction we need to spend our time focusing on, not trying to do the fear mongering. In terms of AI in marketing, there's different areas that we use AI, especially in the last 3 years. Right? Obviously, we use it in content development, but that is content development where it's 90% done by AI, but the last 10% is still edited by a human being.
yeah.
We need original content. We need thought leadership content. We need thought provoking content. And that can't always happen strictly with AI. So you're still going to end up having a human being doing 10 to 20% of the editing. But what does that allow us to do? Instead of spending, and I'm just throwing out an example here, instead of doing 4 articles a month, you can now do 10 articles a month, right? So more content being king. Bottom line is you're going to have more of your brand information out on the web in a shorter amount of time. Now that's a good thing at the end of the day. That's not a bad thing. We use it for image generation. We use it for PowerPoint presentations. We use it for scripts if we need them for videos, for example. We use them to analyze marketing data. So now I can take data from multiple sources, right? I can do Google Analytics, I can do Google Search Console, I can do my advertising campaign, I can do my social media campaign, I can do my email marketing, bring it all together and have AI literally in a matter of minutes give me an analysis, an interpretation, and more importantly, an action step on what to do to improve any of the results from all these different data points. And so we want to use AI in a way that's going to benefit the marketing strategy, the marketing plan, the marketing discipline, and we want to figure out how to move it forward. We can do it faster now. And I think that's where this is where AI comes into play. Whereas previously without it, it was, I don't know, I'm just giving out an example here. Instead of having a $10,000 a month budget that we might have today, we may have had to charge $20,000 without the AI because it required more work, more labor time. And what we can now do in a matter of a day used to take 30 or more days previously. So I think, when we talk about AI and using AI, it's absolutely fascinating the direction that we're going nowadays. Now, with that being said, I'm going to give you two more examples on AI.
All right.
AI
Okay.
number one is using AI chatbots in your website.
Mm-hmm.
What's the benefit? Well, AI chatbots have moved quite a ways in terms of being beneficial. So let's look at the B2B world, right? So a visitor comes to your website, they do a little research, and then next thing they know, a week later, they come back. Well, the moment they came back a second time, it means you caught their interest, but they're still not ready to talk to you. So what does the AI chatbot do? The chatbot allows for that visitor, without interacting with you, is getting a little bit more information. And the AI chatbot is sophisticated enough, having learned all the pages of your website, to give them a proper response. And in doing so, at the end of that conversation, it can also do a call to action and say, hey, would you like to contact somebody at the company? Right? So we can speed up the process of when somebody becomes a lead. So that's example number one on the AI chatbots in marketing. Example number two is, this is a separate AI, is developing a journey funnel for a website visitor so that every visitor's journey funnel is different. It's the call to actions, what I call active call to actions versus passive call to actions, are real. So the AI decides what is it going to present to that website visitor based on where in that journey funnel they are. The further down they are in that journey funnel, the more they are getting to a decision phase to actually want to become a lead and contact the company. But by the same token, during that journey funnel, call to actions have to appropriately match where in the funnel they are. It has to be more passive at the top of the funnel and more aggressive at the bottom of the funnel. And so this is how we're able to, for example, increase the number of leads a website generates by 200% in 4 months, utilizing AI, A/B testing, heat maps, etc., and the results of all this work, and make the website more effective. So those are the two examples I'm going to give you on practical ways of using AI in terms of a chatbot and using an AI in terms of developing a journey funnel per website visitor.
Oh, wow. Great. That's so much insights packed in a single response, dear Melih. So, moving forward, I'd like to ask, with
Sure.
over 35 years in the field, you've seen countless next big things come and go. So, what is an under the radar trend or technology you see today that you believe will be a game changer in the next few years to come?
That's a very good question. And I think that if I take a look at the direction that we have gone, let's take a look. First, we had the internet, and it opened up and it got us away from the AOLs of the world, where they confined us in terms of what we can and can't do. Fast forward a little bit, and we ended up having more speed, which was very important. So that infrastructure was important in terms of the internet and what's going on. Fast forward a little bit more, and the iPhone came out, right? So the smartphone really skyrocketed into a whole new world. And so mobile devices became a very significant element in terms of technology, in terms of human interaction with technology. Social media, of course, was another phenomenon, especially around 2007, 2008 timeframe, where all of a sudden it the GUI interface of allowing human beings to interact um, in a single platform became much more user friendly, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Compared to, let's say, you know, bulletin boards that we had in the past, all just text based, or if you take a look at the blog platforms, or I'm trying to think of some of these other internet relay chat, which is what was the foundation for Twitter. These were all disastrous ways of interacting. And
Yeah.
so social media became more sophisticated. Here we are so much later, and you can see all the different types of social communities in which we're getting engagement by people, either on a finite level or at a broader scale. And then let's fast forward to where we are 3 years ago, and AI comes to market, and it changes everything as well. Now, when you take a look at where we are with technology, I think what we're going to see is that mobile devices and technology devices are going to continue to evolve, and they're going to become much more significant in terms of our interactions. Some things are going to get smaller. Some things are going to become very new. One thing's for sure, we need more energy. And I don't know if you've paid attention, but there's a lot of energy storage technology, and it's in its infancy, believe it or not. I mean, believe me, it's pretty sophisticated as it is, but because we're going to need more energy, I think there's that idea of energy storage devices are going to be a significant element. It's not just about charging our devices. It's going to be about having access to energy. And that obviously is a huge issue right now with all the AI buildings that are being built, and they're trying to figure out, how do I secure energy? And so this is a very significant element as we move forward. The devices are going to change. AI is going to continue to evolve. It's going to turn into something much greater. And, if you follow Star Trek and going back to the 1960s, when Gene Roddenberry came up with so many different concepts, so many different things that were in the Star Trek series that were actually reality nowadays. I see a lot of those things that we've seen in the Star Trek series over the decades having become reality, and some of the things that are there are yet to become reality. And how are they going to become reality? They're going to become reality with the fact that we're going to move into quantum computing. And so that will help to facilitate processing of data and technology, and it's going to change how we process and act in the world of technology.
Okay, great response there, Melih. So, for a technical founder with a brilliant product but a limited budget, so what is one marketing strategy you would advise they focus on, exclusively to get their first 10 or say 50
Sure.
customers?
Yep. So let's focus our attention on AI, okay?
Okay.
Because it's going to help speed things up. What I usually ask people to do, a client or otherwise, is go to ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot or Gemini, Perplexity, whichever one you want to use, and let's just pretend that you are the manufacturer of ball bearings. I guess that's a simple one to use. Go to your favorite chatbot, or GPT, I should say, and ask it to recommend manufacturers that manufacture ball bearings, as an example, or whatever it is that your service is or your product is. And say, I want the top 10 or the top 20, pick a number. I will guarantee you, majority of the time, you will not show up. It's just not possible based on where everybody's at today.
Mhm.
And since you're not going to show up, your next question to your GPT is going to be, why did you not recommend my company? And you're going to get a laundry list of lots of fun things, of to-dos. And if you follow those to-dos and ask the GPT to support you, aid you, help you to get that to-do list done, you will find that you're going to end up getting recommended not only in the AI chat GPTs, when somebody's looking for a widget or a service that you're making or that you provide, you're going to find that at the same time, you're also meeting the requirements of Google and the search engines. And so you can actually kill two birds with one stone with this. Now, let me give you something that's very easy to do. It's a quick fix, and everybody should be doing this. So go to your homepage, take the web address of your homepage, punch it into your favorite GPT, and ask it to give you the schema or JSON script for that page.
Mm.
Now, if you ask me what that is, schema is something that Yahoo, Microsoft, and Google came up with back in 2007. It's a way at the technical level, at the HTML level, to be able to identify what is the data that's within a web page. Is it a phone number? Is it a zip code, right? So like, for example, you have numbers on your web page, but without identifying in the HTML code that this is a zip code and this one's a phone number, it's hard for the search engines to determine what data that they're looking at. And so this concept of schema came about. So schema has been around for a very long time, and we've been using it in some cases without knowledge, in other cases knowingly, but we've been using it for a very long time. So let's fast forward to the world of AI, GPTs, right? So GPTs make recommendations to people searching in the GPTs nowadays. In other words, there's a shift from the search engines to the AI engines, so to speak. And the question is, how do you get recommended? And the best way to, a very quick fix is to just ask for the schema code. It will produce what's called a JSON script, JSON script. Grab the script, copy, and paste it directly into your homepage. Now continue that through the more important pages within your website, possibly your blog posts, etc. Idea is that you want to have that schema and JSON script on every page within your website. Believe me, it will change the manner in which search engines and AI bots will understand your website, your web pages, what you provide in terms of products or services, and it will, in fact, generate a response to you on a fairly short basis, believe it or not. And I mean, I'm going to broad stroke it here and say it's about 90 days.
Okay, great. So, Melih, I'd like to ask, in your work creating systematic frameworks to help businesses anticipate and adapt to the relentless pace of technological change. So, what does the word innovation truly mean to you?
Innovation, from my perspective or from
Yeah,
my humble opinion,
yeah.
is about figuring out how to move forward, how to develop progress, how to be progressive. It's about coming up with new ideas. It's about raising questions to yourself, to what it is that you do. And based on those questions, developing answers to be able to come up with something new, right? Whatever new is. New could be something brand new that doesn't exist, but new can also mean improvement. So you're innovating an improvement, for example, or you're innovating something, a product, let's say, or an entirely new infrastructure, a different process, a different strategy. The idea of innovation is coming up with something new, whatever new means in terms of what it is that you're doing. And so when we think about innovation, it has to start by asking yourself questions. And you have to take those questions and you need to research the answers. You need to find the options that are available to you within those answers and help guide you through a research process in which the outcome is going to be something new. You will have innovated something new. The thing that I like to refer to, I don't know how many viewers really know this, but there's a book called Crossing the Chasm. And Crossing the Chasm is an interesting concept in which it discusses early adapters and late adapters. Okay. And as you can imagine, early adapters are all about innovation and all about looking at the new things. It's about the inventors. It's about those people that come up with new ideas, new methods. That's what innovation is all about. But then when you look at the book called Crossing the Chasm, it's also about how does society and as a whole decide that it's willing to accept those innovations. It's willing to accept those new ideas. And like we talked about it a little bit earlier, if society has a fear factor, which is where the late adopters come into play, then it does nothing but hinder the response as far as when it's going to be valuable to everybody. Well, what's interesting is I think when Crossing the Chasm was first written, especially back in the 80s when IBM came out and they had all those changes once a year. Now we're finding that let's just use this as an example. If Crossing the Chasm's idea it was about inventors, early adopters, the mainstream society and the late adopters, and let's say that entire time span was 12 months, we have a entirely different problem nowadays because change is happening every 3 to 6 months, and especially in 2025, we saw changes very rapidly. So the timeline of the concept of the Crossing the Chasm, I think, has to be condensed. So it's no longer about a 12-month period. We have to condense that down to 6 months. Now, the problem with that is humans generally takes at least 90 days to get used to anything, number one, let alone if the late adapters can't adjust in 6 months. And by the time they turn around and do adjust, something new is already on the market. And so when we think about innovation, we talk about new things and improvements and new ideas, new processes, new strategies, new technologies. I think we have to keep in mind that the timeline has condensed and there's a large portion of the population that can't keep up with these new innovations, with these new ideas, new products, new technologies. And the question is, how do we get everybody to get on board faster?
Okay, Melih, it's been such a great conversation with you, full of insights. So finally, for our listeners who are inspired to think more strategically about their marketing and want to continue this conversation, so where is the best place for them to connect with you and just generally get more insights about the things you talked about in this conversation?
So first of all, you can check out our website. It's smartfindsmarketing.com.
Mm-hmm.
We have quite a bit of information, and we have a lot of blog posts that help to provide these types of concepts and ideas. If you want to reach me, first of all, best place to reach me is on LinkedIn. I would say if you go to LinkedIn and you type my name, I'm the only one there. That's with the name Melih
Wow.
Oztalay. So you should be able to find me pretty quickly. I do recommend for anybody listening, tag me on your posts on LinkedIn. I have over 23,000 connections and followers. At least if I react, if I comment on your post, it's more
Yeah.
likely to get a lot of attention because of my large network that continues to keep growing. And you don't have to be connected to me to tag me on your post. Just tag me. I'll get an email. It turns into a to-do list for me, and I'll take care of it within 24 hours. But if you want to connect with me, by all means, just send me an invite. I'm happy to add more people to my network.
Awesome. Melih, it was a great time having this conversation with you on this podcast, and thank you very much for taking the time to show up.
Ezekiel, it was great to be on the show. Thank you very much for the opportunity.